Welcome, good people of the Bronx and beyond. My name is Henry Ovalles, and I'm your host for A Life in Art. On this show, we will bring you engaging and personal conversations with actors, dancers, singers, musicians, and other artists with whom you may not be familiar. People who have been working on their craft for at least a decade and are at a crossroads where passion meets necessity. We'll discuss creativity and inspiration with our guest artists, but also find out what it takes to balance the struggles of practical life while pursuing their passions. We also want to encourage you to connect with us on social media. Visit us on Facebook and YouTube at A Life in Art and Instagram and Twitter at A Life in Art TV. Our guest today is a New York-based actor originally from Ohio, entertaining audiences from stage to screen. He is best known for his recurring performance with The Key of Awesome, an award-winning original sketch comedy and pop culture parody show on YouTube. He is also a freelance graphic artist, describing himself as an actor, artist, and optimist. Today we learn about Jasonmichaelmiller's life in art.
What seems to be the problem here? Where's my drink? Oh, hi, you're the terrorist guy. Hi, I'm Jeff.
I'm a clockmaker, and you two are harassing and stressing me out.
Okay, sir. Perhaps you could relax if you just sat back and watched the in-flight entertainment, okay?
Hi, Peter.
I brought cupcakes!
Where's the food? If there's one thing District 12 has taught me, it's that you never turn down free food.
I'm thinking about auditioning for one of the new cooking shows. If I won the Hunger Games, I can definitely win the Cupcake Wars. Capital favorite?
In the studio today, we have Jasonmichaelmiller. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So Jason, you and I actually don't know each other at all.
No.
Christina Pagan, the executive producer for the show, recommended you highly, and I'm looking forward to getting to meet you on camera. I guess we'll have a little blind date here going.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Jason, let's take it from the top.
Okay.
Where were you born? Where did you grow up?
So I was born in Middletown, Ohio, but grew up Franklin, Monroe, Ohio, so that's between Cincinnati and Dayton.
I see.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And what's your family life like? Parents still together?
Yes.
Okay. And
Yeah.
any siblings?
I have one sister, Krista. She's younger than me, but she's taller, so she's like my little big sister. So,
Got it.
Yeah.
What's the age difference between the two of you?
3 years.
Okay, that's a good age difference there.
Yeah.
And as far as art, when did that come into your life? When did you figure out that it was something for you? When did you get bitten by the bug?
So my family wasn't really like a big, I guess, theater arts family. I did a lot of fine art though when I was younger, not performing art, but I did a lot of fine art, which my parents really kind of pushed and supported. It wasn't until high school, my English and drama teacher had kind of introduced me to theater. His name is Mr. Hessen. I will not call him by first name, but Mr. Hessen. He's always going to be Mr. Hessen. But yeah, so he introduced me to it, and then some of my best friends. And my first show, it was just kind of like you get bit by the bug, like you said, and you can't shake it.
What was that first show?
The first show that I did was called Once Upon a Mattress. It's a stage musical, and I played a, he's not deaf, I would say mute king, and so he's just kind of running around pantomiming and everything the whole show.
Got it. So a bit of a physical challenge. Then.
Physical challenge, yeah. And then I couldn't shake it. I had planned to go to theater or go to school for theater, and my dad kind of wanted me to go to school for graphic design, so kind of put things on hold and did graphic design. And then a semester before getting my associates, I was kind of like, I don't love graphic design, and so I kind of got back into theater and moved to New York for that.
Right. And what profession are your mother and your father involved in?
So my dad is retired, and my mother works for the school system.
Okay.
She kind of works with all the different schools.
Yeah, I guess I'm just interested to know why they were pushing you more towards fine art. Maybe they just felt it was more stable.
I think so. Yeah, it's. I mean, they obviously could see since I was little that drawing and fine art was a big passion and a big talent of mine, and they never missed a show whenever I did shows. But I think they just found it to be more stable, and but that's the thing about the arts is it's really, if you go into it, it's really not for the money,
right?
Unless you're the small percentage that has reached a level of fame, and so I was in college. I was like, well, if I'm going to be happy and do what I want, then I need to make acting the priority, and then still do graphic design, which I still do now as side supplemental income.
Right.
So yeah.
And the graphic design, that's something that you're also passionate about, not at the same level possibly as your performing art, but it is something that you get a kick out of.
It is, yeah. I still keep it near and dear to me. I have kind of like side work that I do with graphic design, and my tagline is because people do judge a book by its cover.
Right.
And so in theater, I think that was something that was always kind of lacking, and they were very behind on was, graphic design and advertisements and their key art and posters. And in theater, you really don't have a trailer or a preview. Some of them do, that's, broadcast on TV, but a lot of times if you want people to see your show, then you have to make the art look appealing,
Yeah,
So,
advertise it, yeah, and even, even the flyer, the flyer that you're going to hand out, that has to look good to get people into those seats.
Yeah.
All right, so you talked about having that teacher that sort of turned you on, and you're still in touch with him because you say you don't want to call him by his first name.
Yeah, he's always going to be Mr. Hessen. Yeah, we
Hessen, right.
keep in touch, Facebook and everything, and he's kind of made an impact on a lot of kids' lives throughout the years.
Right,
so.
students that have come through there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So then college, after your associates, you decided that you were going to go for, I guess, your BA in theater?
No. When I quit graphic design, quit school.
Oh, you just went all out.
I moved to New York. I was like, I couldn't. I don't know. In my mind, I guess I had not wasted time. Education is not a waste, but I feel that I couldn't wait any longer going down this path, and I needed to kind of jump in and get back on track really fast.
Right. So you moved to New York in what year?
2006.
2006, and you got here and sort of hit the ground running. What was that experience like? You started looking for auditions right away, or got hit across the face with the cold truth?
No. I didn't, like, moving to New York was not a big culture shock to me.
It was not, okay.
No, because I lived between Cincinnati and Dayton and Columbus, which are major
big cities, yeah.
And I think I took almost a year to kind of get acclimated to the city and, make sure that I knew all of the train lines and everything. And I actually got into teaching for a while. And that was something that I don't think I would ever have seen myself doing in Ohio. And so I taught gymnastics and art and preschool, alternative classes at New York Kids Club, LIC Kids, and then a personal publication center called Scribble Press, where you could make books. And so all of it was kind of still, and a lot of actors worked at all of those places too.
Right.
So it was kind of like keeping in the realm and really laying a financial foundation to be able to do that. Because I didn't rely on my parents' money or income. They never sent me money, so I kind of had to do everything on my own.
Right.
They sure supported me though, morally, so.
Well, that's important, yeah. But
Yeah.
And it's probably also maybe as important. I mean, if you're starving, then yes, send them some money, please. But
Yeah.
otherwise, I think there is something that does for you as an artist to be able to to make it on your own, to do it yourself.
Yeah. I feel very proud to be independent and to make all of my successes on my own. And I think it makes you search a little more in terms of what you want to do, and it makes you work a little bit harder.
Right.
It's always good to kind of have a little cushion and everything, but I think at the same time it is good to kind of create everything on your own.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's an art in itself,
Yeah.
to be able to make it work.
Yeah.
All right, so let's actually wrap up this first segment, and when we come back, I want to dig in a little deeper with you with some of the other things that you mentioned, such as gymnastics and other art forms, and then we'll talk about Key of Awesome as well.
Cool.
So we have to take a quick break, but we'll be back with more about Jason when we return.
Thanks.
People think I'm trash, but they're wrong. Today I'm just an aluminum can, but one day I could be a stadium.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course.
Teachers today are finding new ways to instill old lessons, proving that greatness can be found in everyday places and that you don't need to be famous to be unforgettable.
Taco Thursdays.
What about dance fighting?
Dance fighting is not a real thing.
Anger.
What about West Side Story? Beat it. The Spider-Man musical.
West Side Story is not a documentary.
One singular sensation. Every little step she takes. Ba-na-na-na-na-na, pow. Dance fighting.
It would never work.
Well, not if you don't learn the moves. Hey, Lionel. Therapy. He's in one of those moods. Oh, you know who. No, well, I can't say because he's kind of like right here. Shut up. The Hot Wonder Twin? Oh, hells yeah.
Robin, no phone calls in here.
I gotta go, bitch. Bye. Kiss, kiss.
Batman, does Robin's behavior, whether it's gay or not, get in the way of his crime fighting?
I guess not.
I handle my shit.
Welcome back to A Life in Art. We are here with artist Jasonmichaelmiller. So Jason, we left off, and I'm actually interested to find out a little bit more about gymnastics. So is that something that you started, most people start young, is that something that you started young also, or did that come later in life?
Yeah, that was very young. I think maybe 4. I did gymnastics at this little like recital dance studio. And then my parents kind of saw all the energy that I had and the coordination, and so they got me into a real gym. It was GTCO was the gym that I went to, and I think I was a gymnast for about 8 or 9 years, and I think it really kind of got me ready for anything else in life. I did soccer, and it was great with soccer, and of course they utilize that in theater.
Yeah.
You know, any kind of stage combat. So.
Definitely. All right, so now let's take it back to New York then. So you're here in New York, you get a year to start, working at other jobs, start working with other actors, other performers, and then what happens? What's the first gig that you have here on stage or on screen?
The first gig when I got back into?
Yes.
So the first gig that I got was, I think it was probably Guys and Dolls, which was a show in Wisconsin.
Oh, so you actually left New York. Did you audition from here to Wisconsin? Oh, okay.
Yeah, so in theater, a lot of theaters across the country will audition in New York and then just kind of ship the actors over. I can't remember if it was Guys and Dolls or if it was a one-act festival that was in Queens.
Right, but one of the two.
one of the two, yeah.
And your preference is musical theater? Is that the strength of your background, or really you?
That was actually, I think, how I kind of got my start was musical theater, but I really can't say which is. They're both very different, stage and theater, because the process is so different. In film and television and even web shows, it's all so quick. Right. Sometimes you get the script, a week before, maybe you get it the day of, and it's very quick. I love the process of theater though, because you actually have time to work with the cast and directors to really discover what the characters are like and backstory, and you really dig deep. I wish that film and television could have the process of theater.
Yeah.
Because that's I think whenever you make the most connections and you really get the most authentic work.
Yeah, it's so much more difficult. I mean, if you want to talk about soap opera actors, for example, that the script is just unbelievable. Like basically they're memorizing it and getting in front of the camera right away. So there is no time.
Yeah.
You sort of just have to make quick choices, and it's like flinging the pasta to the wall and see what sticks.
I would freak out.
Right.
Freak out. I think Kievasan though was really good with kind of getting me ready for a lot of things, because I'm someone that I like to have all my bases covered and everything, and with Kievasan, it is such a quick turnover, and they're constantly putting out videos every week, sometimes more. So that really was like a boot camp for me.
Right, that's the best training you can have.
Yeah.
So talk to me a little bit more about Kievasan. It's possibly what you're most known for.
It is. It's it's given me international exposure.
Right.
It's very weird, because there's a lot of productions that I wish that more audiences could have seen, and so with the Kievasan, I actually have like a little tween following, which is really cool. But also at the same time, all these tweens, they're so passionate and they're very honest. And on Twitter, I had a little girl tweet at me. She said very bluntly, "Are you gay?" And I was like, I didn't really know how to respond, and so that was kind of my
Right,
first.
because you're not sure how, as she's sending that message to you, what environment she's in, or all of that, right?
Yeah. So it was very eye-opening to kind of gain a following, and I would say fans.
Right, they right away want to know about your personal life and everything about you.
Yeah. So it's just been, it's really, really interesting. And the fans for Key of Awesome are very, very loyal and diehard to the, and very opinionated. They all have something very different to say,
Right.
even if it's something very minute and superficial, or they pick up, and it's
Right.
It's a whole new world.
So what was your response to the little girl that tweeted you? Was it a whole paragraph or long expose?
I think I took a few days to kind of think of because this girl was probably 12 or 13.
Right.
So it took me a while to kind of like think, how do I respond to this? So I did the only thing that I knew how to do, I said, "Are you gay?" And that's what I responded. And then she tweeted back and said, "Oh, thank God you're not," which I never confirmed, but that's the thing is I am a gay actor,
Sure.
which sometimes I think it's kind of hard to separate that whenever you go into an audition, the casting director, no matter how straight you can be, the director's kind of like, he can't really separate.
Mm-hmm.
So that was also another thing of, I think an issue that a lot of gay actors have is it really kind of affects their career when they do come out. Because this little girl tweeted back and she was like, "Oh, thank God you're not gay. I would kill myself."
Oh no.
So I was kind of like, oh wow, that's, at that time I didn't confirm that, but
wow.
yeah, it really kind of just right there blew up on my face. I was like, wow. So that's kind of why people choose to not come out in the business.
Yeah, that makes sense, because I mean, you have things about people not wanting to say their age because then they'll get pigeonholed or this or that.
Yeah.
But what you're saying with something like that that's so much the fabric of who you are, but then doesn't necessarily inform, your artistry as far as, you can
Right.
play characters.
Yeah, and I do get pigeonholed a lot of times.
Right.
I think with the Key of Awesome, I think I'm like their token gay character.
Oh, is that right?
I think. But I have gotten the chance to play, straight characters, and I actually had decided not to come out for a long time because I wanted to play a lot of straight characters, and I think sometimes it's hard for me to authentically and genuinely play a gay character because a lot of times people want something very cliche and very
perhaps stereotypical.
Stereotypical, yeah. And so that's kind of uncomfortable for me. So sometimes it's a fight to kind of broaden I think, casting's horizon or whatever to kind of say, listen, let's give this character depth, because gay is not a description. Like when you're looking through the breakdowns, which is where actors find the work and the type of characters and descriptions, it should never be, let's say Bill, gay character. It should be Bill, very quiet and nerdy, likes boys.
Right.
Or Bill, very flamboyant. I think that they need to, because I think there's a lot of productions coming out with this kind of subject matter and characters and everything, and I think they should try to not make that a description. And I think it goes the same with ethnicity too.
I was about to say exactly that. As as a Latino actor, I definitely run into the same thing where and what's going on now in the news, obviously with all of the LGBT issues that are out there, and now with Donald Trump running his mouth with all of the Latino issues that are happening out there. That's that. Yeah. All right, so I think that's a good way to end this segment.
Yeah.
And when we come back, we're going to dig in a little bit deeper.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So we'll learn more about what keeps Jason optimistic when we return. Stay tuned.
Yes.
We finally bought a place.
You seriously have enough saved to do that?
We've been putting a little aside each month.
So at the end of the month, we have nothing left to save. How is my account overdrawn?
When it comes to financial stability, don't get left behind. Get tools and tips for saving at feedthepig.org.
Why? I tell them that it's human nature.
Die, 'cause you're different and gay.
I like dressing this way.
Hey, you! Leave him alone. Leave the gay kid alone.
And we're back on A Life in Art with Jasonmichaelmiller. So Jason, one of the things that you said in the earlier segment is something that I actually wanted to touch on, because with the Key of Awesome, you guys have millions of viewers, right? Or you've got millions of hits on YouTube.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah.
So the difference between that and the stage, for example, about a month ago, I just finished doing a new play that a friend of mine wrote in Spanish. And it was a tough role for me. It was an older character, and it was pretty much a 1-hour monologue where I'm on stage. And at the end of the show, there is another character there, and it's the playwright actually was acting in the play with me. And at the end of the show, it gets a little emotional, and we're both like there crying. And it was a one-night-only performance that we did. And it just was one of those magic nights in theater where you could feel that there's something in the air and everybody's with you.
Yeah.
And I felt great about it, and we hugged each other afterwards.
Yeah.
But then I remembered as I was, heading home, like, oh, there were only like 20 people in the audience tonight.
Doesn't matter.
And it wasn't recorded, all of that. But I mean, yeah, the difference at that, it doesn't matter, no, because I mean, we had that moment and no one can take it away from us.
Yeah.
And that character, those characters had life. But when you start thinking about that, does that bum you out sometimes that, with something theatrical, you only get 20 or 50 people in the audience, as opposed to, something like Key of Awesome that has such a wide reach? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, that's kind of like, that's an amazing question, by the way. That's an amazing I think I saw something online that said something along the lines of like, don't let the size of your audience affect your performance. And I find that for some actors, I think it kind of does. In theater, they're like, we're only performing for 12 people, But like, and it's so true, because being able to be an artist and be in the arts is such a special thing. There's so many different answers to this question.
Oh,
I mean,
no,
it really
I know.
is such an amazing question. I think when I started to get recognition or exposure for the Key of Awesome, a lot of this stuff, I feel like you don't really have time to kind of dig in or you put your heart in as much as you can. And sometimes I'm really horrible at memorizing, so I kind of freak out. But there was a show that I did, and people that know me probably get tired of hearing me say, one of my favorite productions I ever did was a show called Dog Sees God, which is by Burt V. Royal. He did the movie Easy A, and he's doing a new movie called 13 the Musical.
Oh, right. Yeah, Dog Sees God is a great, yeah.
I love that show. And it was such a blessing, #blessed, to do the show. But like, I remember going into a few auditions for it and didn't even get a call back for it. And the role of Beethoven, who, if people don't know, it's an unauthorized parody of the Peanuts gang. And the role of Beethoven is essentially kind of Schroeder, who plays the piano.
Right.
And I was like, I need to do this part because this was a gay character, or however you perceive it. This is a gay character that is not like other gay characters. And I don't think that I'm like a majority of the cliche of what people think of a gay person or gay actor.
Sure.
So I was like, I need to do this role. So, didn't get cast in it twice, 2 different productions. And then I bought the script and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to practice this character and give it backstory and just call it into the universe in case anyone's ever casting. And my friends had a production company called Moses Mowgli at the time, which is no more at this time. But they were like, hey, we're doing Dog Sees God. We know that you love it. Why don't you come audition? And they're like, the only thing is we're going to have Beethoven play piano because he's Schroeder, so we're going to have him play piano. And I was like, well, I don't play piano. So they're like, well, maybe learn. So, a family that I was babysitting for, Thomasina Forbes, an amazing woman in my life, she gave me like 5 piano lessons to learn the music that he would play in the show. And I was like, this part is going to be mine. So what I did, instead of doing chords of 3, I did like chords of 2 because it was easier for me to process. And I did the show. It was such an amazing, amazing production. Krista D'Agostino was the director. To this day, I get people on the street that if they knew that I was in that production, they're like, I remember you, that was a great performance. It's one of my greatest performances, and it sucks that it doesn't, I'm not gonna say it sucks. I wish that more people could have seen. That's a time where I wish more people could have seen that production. We had a great cast, and it's such a great piece. I wish that Burt would make it into a film.
Yes.
It has so many different themes and impactful storylines that I think not only the youth, but people in general need to see, and our actions, how it affects other people, or lack of actions, or lack of stepping in. You know, I know the bullying thing was a big thing a few years ago, and it still
sure.
is. I think it's still very relevant. It just needs to be done. It's an amazing piece. It's the most fun, most work I've ever done on a piece.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and just the story that you're telling about preparing for that piece is a great story in itself.
Yeah.
And, you know, to anyone interested in being an actor, just pursuing the arts, about, you know, perseverance and just stick-to-itiveness and you know, going out and really wanting something and proving that you can do it. That's, you know, that's amazing.
Yeah, I think, well, they always say it was that luck is preparedness with opportunity.
Yes, yeah.
And it's so true. It's when you call it into the universe, and I've you know, been reading some self-help books that I think kind of help with that. You know, a lot of times it's hard to stay positive. And
so that's where your optimism comes from, just
It's, well, I think this year was a little hard for me. This is the most I've ever kind of been in a funk or a state, I guess. And so I think it's important to kind of pursue happiness and to kind of seek happiness and seek different ventures and find things that make you happy and take care of yourself.
That's brilliant.
In New York, if you don't take care of yourself, you'll have a really, really hard time.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. All right, so before we go, just want to, I guess one of the final questions that I like to ask is, if you weren't pursuing art, is there anything else that you would see yourself in, and would you encourage others to, you know, follow a life in art based on your experiences?
I encourage everyone to at least dabble in it, at least get familiar, get involved, even at an early age, I think especially too, because it's great for individuals, but also teamwork and meeting all types of people that you might not normally meet. I think it's great with, it's just great in general. What was the rest of the question?
Oh, and if is there anything else that you would see yourself doing other than, you know, the path of art that you put yourself on?
I think there are other things I might be doing with acting. I don't ever see myself leaving the arts. My whole goal with my career is I want to be able to make my successes through the arts and be able to give back. And I just think it's important to kind of keep things going, keep that cycle going and inspiring others and seeking and learning. And
well, Jason, I got to tell you, I think that's what you're doing here today. I mean, yeah, thank you so much for coming on the show. We've run out of time, as we do, and I always want to ask more questions.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you for giving back and sharing a little bit of your story, you know, a piece of your story that, you know, I've found inspiring, and I hope that our viewers will as well.
Appreciate it.
So that's it for today. Thanks to Jason for sharing his life and art with us. Thanks to all of you for joining us today. Remember to find us on social media and catch any of the episodes you may have missed. We'll be back with more stories from emerging artists when we return with The Life in Art.